Wisconsin, a heavyweight political battle is shaping up tonight after the Trump administration pulls the federal funding approval for congestion pricing.
Governor Hochul came out swinging less than an hour ago, vowing to fight to keep the tolling plan that started just 46 days ago in place. The MTA filed a lawsuit within seconds of the announcement. A letter from Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy outlines two main reasons they are pulling the government's approval: the way the drivers were told and the reasoning behind it.
We have team coverage. Sloan has been talking to drivers and also politicians in New Jersey. Marcia Kramer reporting on the billions of dollars the MTA was relying on to fix the transit system. Let's begin with Bauman. She is live at Grand Central Terminal, where Governor Hochul just wrapped up a very colorful news conference earlier this afternoon. Allie.
That's right, Christine and Jessica. The governor calls this move by the Trump administration an attack on New York's sovereignty. And as the battle now plays out, the governor says those license plate readers are staying on. Those license plate readers around Manhattan's congestion zone are now the rope in a tug of war between the state and federal government. In a letter to Governor Kathy Hochul Wednesday, the Trump administration's transportation secretary, Sean Duffy, said federal officials will contact the state to discuss the orderly cessation of congestion pricing.
You can't take American taxpayers who paid for roads and block them out and say you can't access this unless you pay additional money. And that's what she's done. And so I think that's flat out wrong.
While Trump campaigned on reversing the program, it was approved by the Biden administration last year and began January 5th. Since then, most drivers have been charged $9 to enter Manhattan below 60th Street.
Traffic was down 9% in January. 1.2 million fewer vehicles entered the central business district, and that meant bus speeds and all speeds went way up.
Congestion pricing has already survived several lawsuits from critics who argue it hurts working-class commuters and may negatively impact the air quality just outside the zone.
There is no toll option to enter into our city center using these federal funded highways. And so they're within their right to reverse this decision, and I'm glad that the president did.
While the plan has been controversial since jump, the MTA argues it is necessary to decrease traffic and help raise $15 billion for the MTA.
Pretty for it. So far at least, I live in Lower East Side, and I've actually seen parking spots for the first time in a long time.
I think the reality, though, is that it ends up just being a tax on every commuter.
The president is taking a victory lap on social media, posting Manhattan and all of New York is saved. Long live the king.
New York hasn't labored under a king in over 250 years. And we are not. We sure as hell are not going to start now.
Well, while they did not speak today, Governor Hochul had been in talks with President Trump over congestion pricing's future, and she says the state was so prepared for this move that they were able to file those court papers within minutes of receiving the transportation secretary's letter. We're live in Midtown. Allie Bauman, CBS News, New York.
They definitely anticipated this day would come. Allie, thank you.
Well, New Jersey did file a lawsuit to stop congestion pricing, as Allie mentioned in her report, but a federal judge ruled against the state, and another judge wouldn't hear the case on appeal.
Sloan covered that court case. She joins us live with reaction from lawmakers and drivers. Christine.
Well, Jessica and Christine, lawmakers on this side of the river say despite New York's appeal, congestion pricing tolls should immediately be frozen. All this while many drivers are celebrating, hoping it all sticks in this very tough economy.
Well, I will save some money. That's great for me.
Drivers heading to the Holland Tunnel and Manhattan's business district breathing a sigh of relief as the Trump administration puts the brakes on congestion pricing.
This one is a great job, man. I back Trump 100% on this part right here.
Newark resident Arturo Folston drives into the city for work and is looking forward to putting $9 back in his pocket.
Prices is going crazy. Families is hard to survive, so the more deals we can get, I'll take it.
This driver, though, worries the roads will become more congested.
I drive in with the work van every day, but that's great. That helps everybody. But One thing that I did like about it was that it was easy for me to get back and forth into the city.
Governor Phil Murphy thanking Trump and his new transportation secretary, saying, quote, "While I have consistently expressed openness to a form of congestion pricing that meaningfully protects the environment and does not unfairly burden hardworking New Jersey commuters, the current program lines the MTA's pockets at the expense of New Jerseyans." Other New Jersey lawmakers reacting as well.
I'm very happy the federal government got involved, because New York was just saying to New Jersey, hey, listen, you're going to be the piggy bank for us. Well, that's over.
Congressman Josh Gottheimer telling our Marcia Kramer New York should stop dragging this through the courts and immediately turn off congestion pricing tolls.
They should just pack up, admit they lost, and let's get back to a cooperative relationship. This was always just a cash grab for New York, for the MTA, to deal with their mismanagement and the money they blew.
Now, federal judges have upheld New York's congestion prices, and those same judges will come up. Gottheimer says this time around the federal government is saying there was no serious environmental impact study. We are live at the Holland Tunnel in Jersey City. Christine Sloan, CBS News, New York.
Christine, thank you. And of course, the state of New Jersey, not the only state to file lawsuits here in the congestion pricing saga. People on Long Island cheering that decision about congestion pricing today because the town of Hempstead in Nassau County had filed a lawsuit against the MTA and New York State, claiming that they didn't follow state rules to implement the plan. The county executive says that the MTA should make changes internally to make money.
I think they'd be wise to cut spending, operate a more efficient transportation system, and make sure people who use the subways pay the fares that they're supposed to pay.
We'll have more reaction from Long Island drivers on the news at 6 o'clock.
Political reporter Marcia Kramer is here now to break down what this all means and, most importantly for drivers, what happens next.
Well, first of all, Governor Hochul said that she was going to see the Trump administration in court. But the court of public opinion, as you know, is very divided. People upstate, the subways, Long Island, they say this is a really great thing. But the mayor, the governor and the members of the MTA board are trying to figure out how are they going to pay for the things that the $15 billion from this plan was supposed to pay for. It was supposed to pay for capital improvements, like upgrades for making more stations accessible, an all-electric bus system, and structural repairs to the things like the tracks of the overhead trains, because you don't want them to fall down. But let me give you an example. So you have a situation where we have a 120-year-old system where the subway platforms can only take cars up from 8 to 11 cars. So in order to give more room on the subways, what they want to do is improve the signal so you can run the trains closer together. Give you an example. On the Lexington Avenue line, if you fix the signals, you can run 4 more trains an hour, which will deal incredibly with the congestion that you see on the subways. But there's also a lot of other questions. For example, the political implications. For example, Josh Gottheimer, who you just heard from, is running for governor of New Jersey this year. He was an opponent. This will help him. Mike Lawler, a Republican thinking of running against Governor Hochul next year, he was an opponent. This will help him if he runs. And also you have to ask this other question. A cynic might say, what about the timing? Because some might say that this, took over the news cycle, and Mayor Adams, who was in court, somehow that was banished. But we'll talk about that a little bit later.
You know, Marcia, I mean, getting back to some of the upgrades that you said the MTA was going to pay with some of this congestion pricing money, and that does speak to the heart of this now letter from the Transportation Secretary to Governor Hochul, where he cites that this congestion pricing plan was driven primarily to raise money for the MTA rather than reduce congestion, traffic congestion.
Well, see,
so where does that then end up in the courts is my question. I mean, where, if this is a new argument, all of these other lawsuits that were filed were all denied. They didn't get anywhere. So how does this then change that?
Well, it does change the argument, because what they're saying is this, that under the pilot program that they established, it was supposed to deal with congestion. There's nothing in what they want to spend the $15 billion for to make the streets less congested. So, the president himself has talked about, for example, ending bike lanes. So it might be something like removing the bike lanes or things like that. So they're going to argue, this is a new argument, and this may give them the ability to have it struck down. It's really an interesting press.
We were talking earlier, you know, the governor was strong. In the past, she is usually soft-spoken but effective. I have never seen her as visibly angry as I saw her in that press conference. And you said you tended to agree, but there's a good reason behind that.
Well, I think there's a good reason, because I think she thought she had a working relationship with President Trump. But you see, you have to play this out. So she's angry. She's sending a message to President Trump. Is she trying to say to President Trump, okay, you killed congestion pricing, will you give me money from the federal government to pay for the upgrades we need?
All right, Marcia Kramer, I know that you're going to be back to talk about another story that you're covering today.
Stay with us.
It's one of those days, but we do appreciate you giving your perspective on congestion pricing. So sit tight, because we will have continuing coverage throughout the hour, and also on our website. Online, you can find the complete letter from the Transportation Secretary, plus a full timeline of congestion pricing and how we got here. It's all at cbsnewyork.com.